Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Euro Trader. I'm your host, Marcus D. I'm just waking up. I have my green tea here with some peppermint in it. Right, let's have a look at what the markets have in store for us. But if we're meeting for the first time, before we start, I have been trading for 19 years and I'm a commodities trader. So you will see me trade a lot of silver, gold, copper, maybe even gasoline futures, natural gas, and similar. So energies and precious metals have been my focus since about 2013. So a long time. But before then, I was a swing trader in Forex. So, okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's have a look at the levels. All of the metals have actually flipped into positive gamma territory. With copper, which is where most of this comes from, 6 evens was the number that I was looking at to see whether we can go above it. And most of the Asia session in the early days, I actually faded this. And then this morning, I woke up pretty early and I managed to scalp a couple more trades up and down. And now I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to see what they want to do here and how they want to play this whilst I'm waking up. At the same time, I'm keeping an eye on gold and on silver. But for now, both gold and silver are a little muted. So if I focus on silver here, it is the only one that hasn't even tagged Asia-High. That's not to say that at some point it won't catch up and just going to shoot over it. But we do have the statistical average around 46.13. And that could mean some hedging activity because in positive gamma you expect mean reverting behaviors. Do I really want to short it against that? Probably not. I will probably let it go and then try and catch it once it starts turning back around. Having said that, if copper, let's look at copper. If copper manages to go down to 6 evens and then actually goes below it again, breaks VWAP, we will be in negative gamma territory. And then I have a couple of targets to the downside. First one being 594, second one being 590, which is quite an extended target to the downside. But at the moment, there is no reason or cause to actually chase that because we are above 6 evens and we want to see whether we can have a move as a magnet towards this ATR high, which is sitting close to 610, but still a ways away from the all-time high. So that's the analysis there. Silver right now is not that interesting to me. Primarily because out of all of the metals, it's been really muted, which could mean that we could have a day where it's not super crazy. So again, shooting for swings on days where there is not that much commitment yet, it's not the best idea. So I will probably stick to about 100 to 110 tick targets, and depending on what I'm doing with it, I won't be looking for massive moves, and if I happen to be in a short, I will be aggressive on the hold times. What does that mean? It means that if I'm in a short, I'm not going to hold it do or die until it reaches 100 ticks. So whatever I get, and if I see there's no commitment, yeah, I will take it off. So that's the outlook. So Monday, this week starting off pretty well, even though my throat doesn't want to cooperate. I literally haven't spoken to anyone before I started talking, so there's going to be some frogs in the throat. When it comes to the options levels of interest, it is very obvious that 85 on silver is the next level. So I would expect at least 85, maybe even ADR high, but maybe later and with a little bit of mean reversions. I'm just going to clear my throat again. It's really annoying. I do apologize. All right, hopefully that'll be a little bit better. So where was I? Yeah, so what are the levels of interest? On gold, we went above 4,600, but again, we're not really seeing too much of an initiation of buyers so far. And I've got my book map on another screen. There are no big orders stepping in. However, this slow grind up that we had prior to the London Open, from around here, what was that? 6:15 a.m. my time, so that's 15 minutes after Tokyo closed. They were slowly running it up from this VWAP area. So we are a little outside of VWAP, but I'm not really seeing anything of interest just yet. Copper has moved nicely. Copper and silver are sitting above the Asia highs. Out of the two of those, copper looks more bullish. When I look at the options positioning, they are pretty much the same. Everybody's just long with very little put support lower. So if anything happens, if they, come up with some news that might be seen as is a good thing, then you may expect a return, a very swift return to 6 evens and then a decision point. But we could also have yet another bounce. So you can see if you focus on how price behaved. God, my throat is being super annoying today. Christ, what is going on? In all fairness, it's probably the cold weather. We're having a bit of a cold snap, and yesterday we went for a walk where we thought it was not going to be that cold. It ended up being freezing, so maybe I'm just reacting to that now. Anyway, if you see how price reacted, so we went above 6 evens, retested it, went back to Asia high, didn't swipe it, pretty much held the Asia high, which is unusual, and usually more prone to like a breakout. And then retested that, tried to go lower, reclaimed it, and now we're above Asia high. So that is not a liquidity grab. That is very slowly building power above Asia high. Now overhead, we do have a supply from a 4-hour time frame that you can see as this red box. And the edge of that supply already starts at 6:0550. If I don't manage to catch it by the time that we are up there, so if there's like a really fast run up, I want to see some sort of a reaction, and then again maybe catch it when we retest Asia high rather than the 6 evens, because we'll be heavily above Asia at that point, and then see if I can find another trade. Maybe if we get to Euro close, London close, we may have an opportunity to fade this from 610, which is where ADR high is located. But I'm not chasing breakouts or anything like that, because breakouts in a mean reversion gamma positive condition tend not to work. So you need to know when it's okay to just plow in and when you need to be a little bit slower and just see what they're trying to do, and then kind of just try to position yourself as best as you can. All right, let's see who's in chat. EMS says, MS, I don't know why I changed my name with all the numbers after, but then again, at the same time, don't really care. Yeah, I've noticed that too. That is a YouTube thing. So we used to have handles, and you could choose whichever handle you want, but your username underneath stayed the same. And then I noticed a couple of months, no, maybe it was like longer than that, 3 or 4 months ago, they started putting everybody's actual usernames, and it's like, it doesn't make sense. So I changed my handle to Marcus Stalker D, because I was, starting Topstep 2.5 years ago, and my actual channel name is a plural market stalkers, because it's not just me, there's like a whole team of people, and now it's back to market stalkers. So now whenever I'm commenting, it looks like I have some kind of a multiple personality disorder or something. I'm talking about myself in plural. So I don't know. It's just YouTube weirdness. I don't know what they're trying to do there. But yeah, I'm annoyed as well because I have to read out really complicated, really complex names. And then especially if I'm on my phone and I'm trying to respond to somebody, I have to like go into, because YouTube on the phone doesn't tag people immediately. I have to like see what their actual username is. It's ultra stupid. I don't know why they're doing that. But hey, it's YouTube. We can't really do anything about it. And we're just gonna have to roll with the punches. Plural market stalkers it is. Alright, so I'm seeing some bigger size on copper that came in at 604. Pretty big size, 51 contracts, but they're not having any effect on the price. Yet. Obviously, anything can change in a flash. So let's see if they can maybe go back to the initial balance. So initial balance high and low, 602.50 and 598.80. So let's put those markers in as well. Let's have a look how that. Okay, so Asia high is basically where the initial balance high is. So it was gonna get a rename. So we're above Asia. Asia high, above initial balance. Let's put some volume profile here. And we're starting, I'm so sorry, I don't know what's going on with my throat today. I hope I'm not getting sick. So we're starting to move the value higher. We're starting to move the value higher outside of initial balance. Point of control is almost aligning with the Asia high, so that's interesting. Silver is still flirting with IB, even though they attempted to get out of it, but the commitment is just so pathetic. So this is Asia low. Sorry, initial balance low. Interesting on the micro. Oh no, it's the same. I'm talking nonsense. Alright, so this is the IB high, IB low. Very, very small initial balance. That is caused by lack of volume. So silver definitely not on the cards just yet. Maybe it will be later on in the day, but for now, London is just kind of sucked out all of the volume from it. So yeah, I suppose you can also see it in the volume bars, right? So it's well below the range, so is gold, but copper, copper is like, ooh, I'm popping up above average. I'm above average. Yeah, you're seeing that reflected in the price too. Neutral day already on silver. Why do I say that? Because we have pop outside of the IB and pop below IB. Very indicative of a quiet start to the London session, which is again not unusual. We know that silver likes to get stuck in a range during this time of day. Gold is attempting to go back to X2 level. And what has gold done? Gold tried to get outside of the initial balance, but promptly came back into it. So you can see this little wick where the doji is. That was an attempted exit. And now it seems to be failing the auction. I do wish that they wick above Asia high before we do anything though. Because that ADR high is so close. And it can be magnetic. So one thing that could happen, which is a low profit margin, it's just not really how I trade. But you could see a test of 4,600. Maybe they wick to this demand here. And that pulls them back up. And then they wick the Asia high. But clearly gold is having a bit of a rest moment as well. MS is saying, how are you guys doing over in England and Europe? Any crazy shit? Very cold yet? And I wouldn't say it's very cold. I mean, UK is a temperate, moderate temperature country, right? So we never really get extraordinarily cold. Like you're not going to get, you know, minus 30 like you do in Canada and stuff. But it's been a little colder. I think we dipped down to like -1 or -3 2 days ago. However, today it's supposed to be back into 11 degrees. This is all centigrade, of course. Shouldn't NASDAQ dump on crazy news about Trump and Powell? It's an unprecedented situation. I think that's all been priced in. I mean, those two have been yapping about, well, not Powell, but Trump has been yapping about Powell for a while now, right? I think everybody's a bit tired of that narrative. It's like, oh, Powell sucks, it's terrible. It's like, yeah, we know you don't like him, it's okay. We like Daddy Powell, though. It's all good. And, you know, this Greenland stuff, I don't know whether he can just go around attacking sovereign countries like that. I mean, technically it's a Danish territory. Wouldn't that mean, like, what's he trying to do? Is he just going into dementia or something? Like, I really don't know. But it's very weird. You know, first the Venezuela stuff, which I can kind of get. It's like, okay, yeah, oil reserves. But now he's deciding that just because there's a China presence in the waters around Greenland, that he's now going to attack Greenland. It's like, oh, you got low security. And it just reminds me, you remember the Thunderbirds, the World Police, America, F yeah. I don't want to swear, but you know the song, right? It reminds me of that, right? It's like a cartoon, and unfortunately it's not a cartoon, but it's like, what are you doing, mate? So yeah, it's just weird. So we'll see, but for now, the markets are not exactly going, oh my god, wow. You know, nobody's freaking out. Positive gamma is just very orderly price action. Lots of mean reversions, you know, tends to print his inside bars and all that. Yeah. Crazy times we live in, man. Whenever Trump is a president, it's never boring. Like, he always has some kind of out there ideas. And, you right, Cavalier? What's going on? Hold on. My Cavalier is walking around, and he's old and deaf, so I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to check on him, because... No, he's just walking. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah. What is ADR? Well, day trader you may want to check my own YouTube channel, Market Stalkers, because literally 2 days ago I released a video that explains all of this. So what it is, how to use it, and 3 strategies around it, why it works, why it's reactive, and times when it fails as well. So outlier days and all that. You may see me without makeup in the beginning of the video because everybody decided to go AI. I decided to go the other way. So I take you through sort of like a get ready with me moment. Mostly because I was kind of rushing to do stuff in the morning and to get the lights and everything. So I didn't have time to get ready yet. And the video needed to be done. So yeah, check that out on my channel. And all will be explained, because otherwise, I would have to spend 15-20 minutes explaining what ADR is rather than tracking what the actual price is. And this is a class. This is more of a class than anything else. You're right, Leonard. What's going on? I don't know. He's an old dog and he's on a bunch of meds. But usually he just sleeps, so I don't know what he's doing. He's just like walking around aimlessly. Hope he's alright. I'm just going to check on him quickly, because he's just kind of staring blankly at my portable air conditioner, which is not operational right now. So let me just see what he wants. And he's deaf, so, getting his attention. It's a bit difficult. Back in a second. I don't know, he might be a bit too hot in here because I have the heater on and all the lights and computers and everything. Alright, he's finally laid down. Seems to be alright. So, don't die on the stream, dude. What trade did I take? It wasn't just one. It was a number of trades because the opportunities weren't great for just one trade. So I think, let's have a look. I did, so there was a bit of scalping today. So let's switch on some executions and I'm going to try and remember. So it started last night. I started trading last night. Okay, so this was the first trade. So 2 lots on copper. So when into a short around the core wall, caught some of that, and then covered when these spikies were not giving way to VWAP. What else was I doing? Which one was the first one? Let me try and remember. Yeah, so then another short here, similar idea, tagging Asia-High. Covered that one pretty quickly because I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see, so that was a very, very small loss. And then tried another one. That one worked, but again I covered very, very quickly when we just peaked below, and again didn't even make it to VWAP. I was watching tape, and then that was it on copper. So a little bit scalpy there, again to go with the nature of the day. Similarly, silver, I did a short on the similar idea that we've established a high and that Shanghai is going to reverse it. So that was a pretty pain-free few ticks. Only one, because I was already trading copper, so I was in with a bit of a larger size. And then I kept trying to catch a reversal. Well, basically I was looking for this, but it just wasn't really giving me what I wanted to see. So I think it was mostly break even and then one smaller loss. So silver, again, that told me no, because trying, little trades and it just being glued at the entry or just around it, and then they will move it away, come back, move it away, come back. I tried a long, and even that didn't really go anywhere, and at that point, it's a range. So whenever I start thinking, this was going against me, that was kind of going against me, and it didn't go against me by much, obviously, it was all, a couple of ticks here and there, and maybe this one was a little bit bigger, but it was only like, I was risking like 275 on one, then trying to add to it just in case it, did the momentum, and then it just never engaged. It was just like, eh. So this is why I decided copper. Copper is definitely the one for today. But yeah, so far, a bit of a scalpy day for me. I usually use time of day for my intentions. It is a part of my method. If the time of day is wrong, we shouldn't be in a trade. So I have assumptions of what should happen either at the start or towards the settlement period of time. And I very rarely kind of trade outside of that unless I have to, unless I'm like on a show or something, so main broadcast, and then they're like, oh, Dee, gun to the head, what are you doing? Which trade are you taking? And then I have to like come up with something. And that's why the trades that you see me do, usually on fast markets or something, they tend to be a little bit more scalpy, because there's just not, it's kind of the wrong time of day for me. But then if I'm at the end of fast markets, that's actually the perfect time of day for me. And similarly, today I'm going to be on group coaching, which is half an hour before NYMEX closes. So maybe we'll have some opportunities in either gasoline futures or nat gas. And that's the time of day when I like to get involved. So time of day is super important. If the time is wrong and the level is being reached, I don't want it. So I will only trade the same times of day, if that makes sense, across 3 sessions. And for each session I have, let's call them day trading time zones, because that's what we call them in the ProDev Market Stalkers method, and it's a pretty good name. So day trading time zones are condition 1, is the time of day right for this move, and then whatever level is around, and whatever we have in regards to gamma exposure, Asia high low, area high low, and then gamma levels as confluence mainly. So in my head it's pretty simplistic, but some people think that I trade in a super complex way, which is, only natural after nearly 20 years of doing this. But in my head it's like super logical, right? It's like time of day, reversal. What's the gamma wall? Or, call wall, put wall. What do we have here? Negative gamma, positive gamma. And then you just look at price. So yeah, but some people are like, no, it's not complicated. You're making everything complicated. It's like, I'm not making things complicated. I know what worked for me to explain everything. So the reasoning, if you can explain yourself the reason why you're in a trade, I would guess that you would do a lot better. Because it's like, why are you in the trade at all? And if you don't have somebody there as a trading buddy who is on kind of an equal playing ground, it gets really difficult, because sometimes you get up in your own head. And, whenever I have either Hogue there or Jay, any of my colleagues, especially the ones that are like more profile oriented, and Jay looks at ATR, which is very similar to ADR. It's just I use them as kind of levels and dynamic volatility bands. But he's very good at volume, and if I'm looking at something, even though we have completely different ways of seeing the market, we always come up with the same levels, and that will never stop to fascinate me. So if you can talk it out with somebody who has an equal amount of knowledge, And if you can rationalize whether this is a good trade or a bad trade, that tends to be a better option. And similar thing with Hoop. Coach Hoop and I are trading buddies. And even though he's a scalper, yet I'm more of a intraday semi-swing type trader where I aim to capture bigger moves. That's not to say that on some days I won't scalp, because there's no swings. So therefore you have to just take what's there, right? You can't just go, oh, yeah, do a home run today. It's like, on what exactly? So we have to stay objective. Whatever your strategy is, you have to stay objective first and foremost. It's like, does this make sense in the current day context? And even scalpers, the best ones, will always look at larger time frames. They won't be like constantly sitting on like a 30-second chart and going, or just staring at Bookmap. There will always be a reliance on some bigger time frame levels. So, and then their trades are just very short-lived. That's the only difference, right? But if we are in a range, if the price is not really playing ball, yeah, I will absolutely scalp. I will take 0.5, 0.8 R. But then when a bigger opportunity comes at the next day trading time zone, and that looks like it's more of a swing, I will absolutely take that. Then I won't scalp. So I've got the chameleon in the background for a reason, because I am a bit of a chameleon at this point, and it took me an absolute age to get there. So I was naturally a swing trader, holding positions for extended periods of time. And then in 2013, I became a prop trader. Different ball game, because in some days you don't have the home runs and you have the time constraints. It's like, so now what? How do I play this? And that's where your skills grow. And that's where you see more sophisticated skills trying to break through and to take over the P&L on the days when swings are not available. And can you just sit out? Yeah, but I like a puzzle, I'm somebody who never does anything halfway. So I wanted to do this professionally. And with that came a steep learning curve that I needed to get better at range trading. Did it happen overnight? Hell no. It took me from the start of my prop trading career to the point when I started being okay with range days. That was 5-6 years. It wasn't, I would say that only about 7 years ago or so, I started to see the range days pretty well. Do I like them? No, because naturally I'm still somebody who would like to have, less work and more money rather than the other way around. But it's not always possible, right? So, and if this is your job and you still, want to make cash, make bank, even when the market is not moving crazily, you have to get better at ranges, unfortunately. So, and I had Hogue as a mentor, so, he was really good at range trading. And he transferred some of his knowledge onto me as well. And I asked him a million questions. The initial balance extensions on both sides massively helped that. And then going further, Asia-High low on the metals in particular, that was another reference point. I'm like, okay, so this is now rotation day. We have a smaller Asia range on some days. Now, this one is pretty sizable still, because we had Tokyo just going to the moon immediately. But then, as soon as Shanghai started, they slowed everything down. And Shanghai, it's usually the opposite, right? So Shanghai kicks in and everything gets run over. They do a liquidity sweep, and then they start running it up one way or the other if you're going to have a really good day. If you don't have that, it's kind of like, well, this didn't happen, so what's on the other side now? So how do we diagnose a chart that is doing exactly the opposite of what we've seen it do, let's say 70% of the days? So Shanghai did reverse it, as you can see, but the odd thing was that Asia immediately ran it up. So this doesn't normally happen. And that's why I was like, does this mean we're going to have a really shit day? Because it shouldn't. There was no volume here. So what was the driver? Probably the news that Trump is planning to invade Greenland or something. This was definitely a bit newsy, right? And news has a focus up until a certain point, And then if there's no follow through on that news and there's nothing new, they sort of kind of, it's like a goldfish memory, right? They lose commitment and they're like, oh, what did they say? Oh, well, we don't know. And then it just starts drying up. So I think that's what we're seeing now. But it's also the function of London that before the silver fix, before the gold fix, gold fix is coming in about 20 minutes, by the way. Everything is a little bit rangy. And, you know, you've seen that if you've been with me for any length of time. You would have seen that there is a big range, usually, until LME starts trading for copper, and then some of the base metals obviously will pull the precious metals along with them, even though precious metals are not traded on the LME. I still like to anchor the VWAP to the start of LME, and that is 11:40 my time. And so 11:40 a.m. So use a time zone converter to find out what that is in your time zone. Cedric has a great question. D, can you please explain the reason to use GMT midnight as a reference level for ADR? Do I have to use the same reference for ES and NQ? So the reason for that is I am in London, and then just before the new daily candle, you have Globex open. So on all of my charts, the daily open is actually only an hour after Globex starts trading. So it's like, you could start it at Globex, I suppose, but I've tried doing like statistical tests. I call them my counting algorithms. It's like, which one is the highest probability of accuracy? And for some reason, I don't know whether it's because it's London, and because obviously London has some pricing mechanisms that are obviously used. I mean, so does Shanghai, but Shanghai kind of starts at an odd time. So which one is the first sort of daily open candle? For me, that would be GMT. And if you're using, you know, the EST or CT, it's gonna only start the candle, the daily candle, once you're like well into the day, the Asia session, right? So to me, that was always like a little bit tricky from a nerd standpoint. And therefore, I maintain the GMT as a start of my ADR calculations, which, by the way, also allows with Tokyo Start. So it's the first session that begins trading, and to me, that's a good reference. What's the first session? Well, Sydney and Australia, they're so small, but Tokyo starts, and they clearly have quite a bit more volume and commitment to price and whatever. So to me, it makes sense to start the new daily candle at GMT midnight. And yes, that goes across the board, whatever you're trading. ES, NQ, even DAX. DAX now trades overnight. That's a new development. Right, so copper is tagging the initial balance high. It is still inside the developing value. And how are the TPOs looking? So we're building structure. I'm not really that keen on going in. We have 4 TPOs around the IB high already, then 2 as we left the IB, and now it's 3. So it's like, if they're going to make a move. So what I can do here, maybe we can go into a micro copper, just to protect the majority of this. I might go into a tick chart here. Just to protect the majority of this profit. And because obviously I've made money on the day. I don't need to trade, but you know, we want to try hypothesis. So test of IB high, test of Asia high. We do need to see some commitment to the buy side, because I want to buy towards the ADR, or at the very least the edge of that supply. So it might not be a big trade again. No, that's not what I wanted. I want time and sales here, because I have bookmap, but You guys can't see that because it's on a different screen. How do I calculate gamma and GEX levels? I use mental Q and notice yours are different. So mental Q is end of day, and usually they have lines that are pretty similar. Like if it's a big level, it's going to be labeled call wall, gamma wall, GEX 1, 2, and 3, right? But I look at monthly options. The reason behind that is because there is a lot more development in silver and copper and gold for that matter intraday. And mental Q doesn't have intraday data. So sometimes when they go over all of the levels, I'm like, well, now what? So I wrote my own algorithms to crunch the actual options data that I get via the API from bar chart. And I wrote about 3 different trackers. And I have Cursor AI, which where I give like prompts, and it just kind of crunches my workflow down to like a few minutes rather than me having to stare at everything. But I still have to do the analysis of setting the Asia high, setting the Asia low, and visually having them on the chart. I'm a very visual person, so if I don't, like if somebody tells me, oh yeah, Asia high is 602.95, I'll be like, in one ear, out the other, done. But if I see it in front of me, that's a whole different thing, because I've got photographic memory, and it's immediately like etched in my brain. And it's just easier for me to orient myself, if that makes sense. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but I'm very, very visual, and I need to have, like somebody was a bit mean on my YouTube channel, some guy who I decided to mute now, and just because I got tired of his nonsense. Every time I create a video, now obviously my Marcus Stalker's video is a helper channel, but it's also a business channel, of course. You know, we're a software development company, we're not a charity, you know, it's like, it's a business. And every time I release a video, it's like, you're overcomplicating ATR. If you take a normal MetaTrader ATR, like first of all, MetaTrader ATR, do you want to see what that looks like? That's what it looks like. So if you go on the daily chart, does it give you the edge of the range? Does it actually provide any detail that you've reached an extreme of something statistically? It does not. So he was basically trying to argue how, you know, I'm overcomplicating ATR levels. I think I'm oversimplifying them, to be honest. Because I've simplified a concept that is based on ATR. I've given them visual points. And then he was like, and then I knew that you were going to try and understand something. It's like people have been looking for my ADR levels as an actual level that they can plot on the chart for a year, right? For a year. People have been asking me to translate my Blothic indicators into Ninja. And we're working on that, but it's going to take a while. So as a workaround, we have the Discord server. So it's like, people have asked for it. What do you want? Like, really? How mean can you get? So I just decided to mute him. And that's the only thing that's going to happen when you're being mean to people that you don't know, right? So you wake up, choose violence, choose verbal assault. All that's going to happen is that you're going to get muted. Because I couldn't really care less about other people's opinion. Especially those kind of people. If you're kind, then you deserve my attention. If you're not kind and you're just being an asshole straight through, I deal with that. Like, I'm 45. I don't have time to argue with people on the internet. And, you know, block, delete, hide, don't see. You do not exist. You're like some annoying wind that's just come out of somewhere and it's messing up your hair. That's the only thing that's happening there. But yeah, so ADR levels are amazing. They are my oldest technique for making sure I'm not going against the flow. So if I want to do an extension of the initial balance high, like for example on gold, would that be a good idea? Like if this is the initial balance, would that be a good idea considering ADR high is so close? No. And look what they do. They run it down. And we already almost touched it. So if I go back, we have traversed, what, 95% of the range already? And then some people will be like, I'm going long here. But having that visual reference is invaluable, because you're like, you have the time of day, you have the visual reference of a statistical extreme. What's going to happen on most days? The range will be respected. And the only time it isn't respected is if you have like some mad news coming in, and you have everything just flipping back to negative gamma, breaking levels. If it has been in positive gamma, it can actually accelerate too. If some of the bigger levels are broken. But, generally, ADR as a visual, it's an amazing tool. And what that person doesn't know is that I created that in 2015. And I was the first one to create it as an actual visual level. So, it's mine, effectively. Like, nobody was using ADR as a actual visual level before 2015. They had the ATR, which is just this line that you see. Is it helpful? Yeah, it's helpful. It tells you what the range is either right now, or you can kind of do it here as well. But the problem that I have with where did it go? It just disappeared on me. The problem that I have with ATR in general, it literally is an oscillator. It looks like an oscillator. So it won't tell you oversold conditions compared to the average, because it can't, because it's not the same thing. All it does is it tracks the previous 9, 10, or 14 periods. That's all it does. It doesn't plot, oh, well, over the last 10 days, this was the high. Over the last 14 days, this was the high. And my indicator does that. So I needed that, and I told the developer that I hired, the architect that I hired, that's what I wanted. I want ADR to be a visual level on the chart, and I want it to change when it's broken or touched, exhausted, exceeded. And you can see that on copper on Friday. So what happened? Well, we kind of grinded up all day. Then there was a little reaction from the Tokyo high, which again, there's a Shanghai coming in. So if Tokyo comes in, they wick it down, they go up, and then at some point, if it's exhausting the range, this is this blue line, it touches it, and then it shies away from it. Hits VWAP, then continues. Then we have another session, so you get a new reference. Now you default to the entire 24-hour range. This is the London average session range high. And this one is the overall 24-hour over the last 10 days. Both of them are over the last 10 days. So what happens when you hit them? Oh, look. Oh, look. It sold off. Interesting. And then it just ran out of steam. And then New York Friday was all around just that ADR high, ASR, former London ASR. It never actually did much after that. So they're important levels of reference, And if somebody has a problem with that, I just don't want to get involved. All right, so still waiting. There's still no commitment. So maybe a retest of 6, because the Asia high is a bit squiggly here, a bit sticky. And if that's the case, definitely another range. VWAP test is possible, IB low, and then an extension lower becomes high probability, along with a pullback, and then you have a range trade on your hands. Small range, very small range. Let's see, what is that? Only about 72 ticks. So your prospect of shorts and longs based on a range day idea would be the middle of that. So again, more of a scalpy day still. But if they pull back above the Asia high and we get some commitment, great. Unfortunately, the TPOs are not supporting that because we're now 4 TPOs deep, and it's just building structure sideways. And that is also a big hallmark of a range day. So far, breaking through IB high to the lower side, it puts 6 evens on the map again. So no trade here. Elite trade. Deeyana, I always tell new guys, don't get into a trade until it starts working. Yeah, so that's, I agree with that. Because you have a reference point, and you're either looking for it to be supportive or to break down, right? So it's a thesis around what should happen. So if it's a range day, the thesis is that we're still long. You know, everybody's long. Everybody and their dog is long in the options chain. It is a positive gamma. It is a mean reverting It is a mean reverting environment. So where are my points of interest? And now, I'm probably much quicker to react on range days, because range days, they need accuracy, timing, precision, all of that. They cannot be done on like a 15-minute time frame, because by the time that there's a liquidity sweep and a pullback, in a 15-minute time frame, your trade location is gone. So you should be at target then. And then people, you know, who are newbies, they chase, and it's like, no, no middles on a range day. And then they start feeling like the market is going against them, right? So they're like, well, I was long and it went, you know, against me. Then I was short and then it went against me. So let's run that whilst I'm waiting for the 6 evens test. Let's run that as a hypothesis, right? So you have, I can never find this. So you have, let's say that we want to go short, right? It's a range, we want to go short. And then you short. Let's make this a little stronger. And the first sign that it's a range is that it takes ages to get into profit, right? Ages. And yet they're going, oh, is this going to go? It's going to go. Really, they should be short up here if we ever retest it. Maybe closer to 605. Somebody wicks it, then goes back into the range. That would be good. This trade location, absolute patents, right? Complete nonsense. And yet people are like, so now if this pulls back above initial balance high, but still works, in the mind of a novice trader, they'd be like, oh, the market makers. It's like, it's not the market makers, mate. It's your, unfortunately, it's your skills. And it's like just not seeing the range day as it should be. You're seeing it as some kind of swing potential that could go all the way down here, which, you know, it could do if we bleed below 6 and then go into negative gamma. But that's an entirely different diagnostic thesis, right? It's not the same as a range day anymore. And then that's where objectivity comes in. But no, what the more novice traders are doing, they're like, oh, it's going, you know, or let's put it the other way. They went into a breakout trade because it's like, oh, Asia high is breaking out. But then they are not objective enough to see that there's no engagement into the further upside, and then they get stopped out. And they're like, the market makers hunted. Nobody hunted anything. It's just you not reading the chart right. And look, everybody can be wrong. That's why we got stops. But that initial sort of critical eye of what is happening right now versus the assumption that I had, and is there anybody else looking at the same thing? Then to go further as a part of your journaling, how was the execution? Is there anything that could be done better with timing of the trades? And sometimes the answer to that is no. Many people go down the rabbit hole of like swing trades and not executing, to perfection. It's like, it's a swing intraday. You call like a million ticks of silver. You're fine. But then, some people get high on hopium. So you get the other side where they catch a really good trade, and then it's not negative gamma, but it's still a big move, and then they get all excited, then they don't close the trade out because now they want more. So that's not following the plan, right? And it's all just like emotions playing with them. So it's very important to wait until the levels are there. So nothing until the level is touched. Once the level is touched, be like an algorithm. If you say, like let's say for me, 6 evens is a potential area of interest, I'm not even watching this. So I can go and, feed the dogs, walk the dogs, get them ready for doggy daycare, and just place an alert. Just an alert that's going to come to my phone. I have TradingView on my phone. So very easy, right? And then it pings to my phone, and then I go, ooh, 6 evens. Now we can watch it. And then you have the level, then you start listening. You start monitoring. Watching it tick for tick before it's at your level of interest, complete waste of time. So just go do something else, If you're more scalper style, I would argue that you do have to sit there. This is also a very big reason why I'm not a scalper and why most of the days I will look. Like if there's a chance for a bigger swing, that's what I want. If there isn't, yes, I will turn into a scalper. But it's like you have to prod me with a stick, cattle prod to actually do range trading. It's like, God, no. But on the flip side, if you have a big range like we've had on silver and gold and copper, even the range trades work out fairly quickly, so it's not going to suck too much of your time. As long as you stop and you just don't go on to do 100 trades a day, which is crazy. The best scalpers I've known are always the ones that do 3 to 5 trades a day. The end. They don't sit there doing 100. They're very selective as well. I would say even more selective than some of the people who do swings. Because, in a swing, if you have a stop big enough with enough account balance, you can be very wrong and you will still get the move, but that's not for intraday trading. Intraday trading, prop trading requires much bigger skills. So, all right, so let's see if this range idea at 6 evens is going to happen on the stream. And if not, might happen throughout the day. So, no biggie. MS says, Jay's a goat. I was amazed to hear he was negative 2025. I bet almost only because he experimented hard with silver. No, I think he did very well on silver. So with Jay, Keith, Asia doesn't end when London starts. Asia ends with Tokyo close, which is at 6 a.m. London. So yeah. And that is something that most platforms probably won't have because they're not session specific. They are times of day specific. And then they're like, oh yeah, the new session is opening. But really you have Tokyo close at 6 a.m. London. Then you have Eurex open at 7 a.m. Nobody puts that on the chart. And then you have 8 a.m. is the London start. But 6 a.m. close, that's the Asia high end. Okay? Just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, so with Jay, I think, so there's a thing with us who are doing this every day, right? We're on Topstep. It's people expect you to click buttons. And I will be honest, it probably took me about a year and a half before I stopped feeling the it's not even an urge. It's desire to yield to chat wanting to see you trade is the best way I can explain it. So, you get in front of an audience, they're asking you what to set up. And, in the beginning for 18 months, I was on fast markets twice a week for the entirety of the fast markets. It's a lot, man. And then you're not waiting for your time of day. You're entering trades just because everybody's in your ear and saying, oh, come on, do a trade, do a trade, do a trade. And honestly, and I do have some brain fog and stuff because of my health issues, but it took me 18 months to just go, you know what? I really couldn't care less what chat thinks. And even though I've been sort of in a public eye with my own channel and then with music beforehand, so I'm not a stranger to thick skin, but there was the desire to do more trades to do it. And that was never me. I'm most days, if it's not a range, I'm like a one and done. Maybe I'll do 3 trades on a day. That's it. Only if there's nothing moving, I will resort to more trades. And that's literally just because of the day type. No other reason. It's not me clicking more buttons because I want to. It's just because the day calls for it. But yeah, 18 months of trying to get used to the pressure and not caring what others, like what the village is going to say kind of thing. So I get, when I realized that I've matured to that point, I started getting a lot of stick from people because you never trade. You click the button. It's like, no, you click the button. You go. You lose all of your cash. I don't care. I'm not clicking the button until my setup is here, until my level is here, and until I know exactly deep understanding of what is actually happening in front of me, until I can identify, diagnose what's in front of me. And, whoever has a problem with that, they can literally just shut off my YouTube stream and go elsewhere because it's not the stream for them. I don't shout at the screen when I'm in a trade. I don't get excited when whether I make 2K, 4K, 6K, 10K. I don't get excited. I don't get sad if I lose 2, 4, $1,000. It's not that kind of, activity. But, you have people who are logging in, choosing verbal assault, and they're like, you never trade, you never call trades. It's like, yeah, because I've carved out a career of 19 years listening to what chat thinks I should be doing. Yeah, that's great. And I'm not talking about you guys and girls. Like, our London crowd is actually really, really nice. There's a stark difference between the main broadcast crowd and the London and the Euro trade crowds. I've noticed that. Main broadcasts the people are so mean for no reason whatsoever. Like one time there was a guy who told me that I look scary up close. And I'm like, yeah, let's go see you. I bet you're like living in your mom's basement, heavily overweight, and with coffee stains on your shirt. You look great, mate. Yeah. Let's see you, But yeah, just people saying stupid stuff to other people just to be mean. Or maybe they're not even thinking. I don't know what the reason is. But there's a lot of keyboard warriors that are very quick to point out what they don't like about you. And I'm just saying to all of those people, I don't care. At this point, I've been through a whole bunch of stuff. Not just here, but, I've been through 3 wars, man. It's like, you can't. Like, it takes a lot for me to lose my nerve with someone. That doesn't mean I won't clap back. Because I will, if somebody's mean enough, I will absolutely tell them first to behave, and second, if they are not nice, again, somebody's just going to time them out, or I'm going to time them out. Very, very simple. Bruno will time them out. So I think everybody knows that about my streams, and it's a nice environment. But Jay being down on the year, I would guess that it's literally just the pressure. And it's really not easy because over the last year, he's been running the segments and he still trades. And I know whenever I'm running something, especially if I have a guest on, I have to watch the volume, I have to watch the chat, I have to watch whether the stream output is happening correctly. I have to flip between my screen and their screen. Sometimes I want to make sure that we are focusing on the right thing. And that's like more like producing the show. Should I also trade at that point? No, because your attention is so split with a million other things. And then if there's a technical issue, then you're hunting for that. It's really not the easiest thing to do. It's not like you're just sat in your pajamas, like really, cozy, and you've got lights in your face, you've got cameras, you've got other people, you've got chat, you've got, a whole bunch of stuff happening, everything assaulting you at once, and then you have to compose yourself, diagnose the chart correctly, execute a position, manage it. And, some of us are not getting any younger, unfortunately. Like, I, never used to feel that pressure, but, my brain doesn't work as fast. I definitely take longer to process things. I'm not old, right? But I'm mid-40s, and that's the time when things start to go a little bit slower, right? And I'm definitely noticing that. So if my attention is split, I know that I'm going to suck. Sometimes, I'll be honest, I'll be on the main broadcast and we're trying to do group coaching, and then we are supposed to answer the questions, but then we're also supposed to trade. And if I'm in a trade and I'm trying to answer the question, sometimes I completely miss what is going on around me. So I have to be like, I'm sorry, what was the question? And then I look like a complete muppet. Why? Because I'm looking at the chart. I'm looking at Bookmap. I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to do here. And then somebody's like, hey, Dee, tell us, what do you think of NQ? And I'm like, NQ? Yeah, sure. And then my attention just goes to another product where I haven't done the levels that, frankly, I don't track all that much. But everybody trades NQ. So it's like Dee has to give levels of... So for me, I get why Jay might have felt a similar pressure. So I'm sure that all of us have gotten used to the pressures by now, but it's still not easy. It's still not just you sitting in your room with nobody to see you, and then if either of us mess up, it's a very, very public thing. It's not like, oops, lost an XFA. No, it's like, oh, you lost an XFA. Oh, you're a muppet, what were you doing? And blah, 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 like this huge backlash that people kind of do. And it's because we are in this like niche public eye where we are associated heavily with Topstep. And it's just how it is. And you have to take the good and the bad. We have more visibility, but with more visibility comes more verbal abuse as well. Sadly, it's the world we live in. MS says, I've never seen Bruno say anything rude. No, and he doesn't. He's a extremely tolerant guy, but he's not tolerant to trolls. He won't insult them, but he will time them out. Love that. Chris says, for real, 45 here. Hey, me too. 1980. I still own a remodeling company. My body hurts. I'm ready for the next phase, which is trading. Yeah. Exactly. Continues to say, my wife and I both have started tackling this, and she passed the combine last week after 2 weeks of trading. Excellent. Hey, 2 weeks is much better than 2 days, man. I'm already impressed with your wife, Chris. Because usually if you have people who are relatively new to this, they will try to full port in 2 days because then you need to rush. No, your wife was like, I'm going to take my time. And honestly, if you make all the right moves, 2 weeks is more than enough time. More than enough. So you keep those losses controlled, and you try and do the best that you can on the day, and take whatever the market gives you. So that's how you pass combines. So amazing news for your wife. Hopefully you will follow suit, and please take some cues from her. Women are naturally better risk managers because I know everybody thinks that women are emotional, but it's not really quite true. I would argue that men are taught, maybe not this new generation, but Chris, our generation for sure, men were taught to hide their feelings and to just lock it all in. So as a result, a lot of men that are Gen X and millennials, they don't really have good emotional control because they're not used to dealing with high pressure situations that are emotionally charged. And I think nowadays the new generation is a lot more in tune with their emotions. I mean, by the way everybody's offended by everything. I mean, Christ. They lived in the 80s and 90s. That would have been quite interesting. But yeah, so take the cues from the female psyche. And, I know it sounds a bit kind of camp and stuff, but try to get in touch with your feminine side. Because women are very good at assessing risk and not going there, right? Same reason why we're afraid of spiders. It's like, oh, F no, what the hell is that? That can hurt me. I'm not touching it. And yet, men are like, no, I'll deal with it. It's like, and it's some like venomous, horrible little thing that can kill you in 20 minutes. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, why? Why to stop? They're like, I'm going to go and kill a rattlesnake. It's like, don't do that. Call the people. Just Don't touch it. And that just shows you, right? It shows you how the emotional intelligence can definitely help you in this job. It is key to not losing your shit on days when things don't go right. And accept that some days will not go right. It's okay. Tell yourself it's okay. You're wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. In fact, half of this job is accepting when you're wrong. And just going, ouch, okay, no problem. Think about, receiving a slap in the face. Somebody, slaps you across the face. It kind of hurts. Not a punch, just a slap. Kind of hurts. But then what's going to be worse? If you punch them back and just lose it completely, or you just go, whoa, okay, you're right. I'm just gonna, don't want to mess with you. But no, what will most men do? They will react, and they will go after the person that slapped them. They will be like, oh, I'm gonna show you, oh, bitch slap me. It's like, you can't do that in the markets, okay? If a market bitch slaps you, you cannot go after it, because the market will win every time, okay? So you have to be a little bit more, breathe, and it's like, okay, that hurts, but it's okay. I will be okay. I'm wrong this time. There's thousands and thousands more trades to come. It's okay. So soothe your inner child and your inner subconscious, however you want to call it, and be kind to yourself. Always be kind to yourself. Because if we're not, many of us, we lose a trade, and in the beginning you want to be very mean to yourself. It's not a good way to be. And I'm watching paint dry now, so we're not down at 6 evens yet. Silver is also just dithering around in a 70-tick range. Gold hasn't really moved either, so does not look like we're going to get a trade for this time of day. Will I trade more? I don't know. It's Monday. I kind of like to start my Mondays on a high note, but I do have group coaching today. So maybe if I do trade, it will be like a micro or something. I don't know. If there's a really good setup on like nat gas or something, that could be a trade that I take. But I'm not willing to lose more than about maximum 250 from whatever profit I have today, if at all. So, we'll see. Daniel Mosley said, last week I literally told the market I was going to bitch slap it. How did you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, Chris says, I've seen throughout the years women are much better traders because they stay out of the emotions in the trading. It's amazing. Yeah, it's odd because women have a reputation of being emotional, but I would argue that the women who go into this job are not your typical women. Because, most of us are a bit mouthy. We clearly have male interests. I played the saxophone, electric guitar. I did bodybuilding. I'm a trader. So is that female pastime? Never played with dolls. I played with cars when I was a kid. That was odd. And yes, I started doing makeup and hair because I was in entertainment and you had to. But otherwise, I was very tomboyish. So those are the kind of women that traditionally I see in the trading world. Let's have a look at chat, just to catch up. Kareem says, hi Dee, are these big directional moves during Asia? Really interesting. Do you have any data to share about this? Well, yeah, obviously. So I said Shanghai Exchange likes to fade the first 90 minutes of Tokyo. So that's the first thing. Shanghai is usually where the decision is made. So what we're seeing here is actually outside of that, where Tokyo moved a lot. Actually, let's have a look at silver. Tokyo moved a lot, but Shanghai reversed it. Again, reversal, touch VWAP, come back, and then chop around for, these are 30-minute candles. So each of these candles is like 30 minutes. So 30, 60. 120, 180. So 180 minutes of diddling around before they did one pump, and now they're like, meow, 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 meow. So it's dead, right? It's dead. You can see it by the volume. We can't trade this. We need extra volume. We want to be trading when volume is present. J style, okay? So take Coach J's playbook, that if there's no volume, you shouldn't be trading. Because we've all done it. Is it the best thing? No. So the first step is that Asia, I like to leave Tokyo to do whatever it wants. And then I only really start watching it at 1 a.m. my time. That is 1, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8 p.m. Eastern. 7 p.m. Central. And then usually there's like a fade. But in case that there's a fade first and then Shanghai opens, that is when you have a potential for a trending move. So we can see that here. Here we go. Asia opens, so this is Globex open. Tokyo goes back against the generalized trend that we have on a large time frame. Shanghai steps in, and immediately there's an increase in volume. So shakeout, Shanghai, turn around, and then if you caught it somewhere at the Shanghai Open, you could have held this all day long. This is how I have my big trades where I catch anywhere from like 500 to 800 ticks, because this kind of behavior happens. But beware the COMEX will try to fade the move again. So if by the time that London fix comes, which is happening in about an hour and 10 minutes, that can cause a reversal. So if your profit is not massively outside of the time when the London fix and COMEX pre-market starts happening, you won't have enough space for the market to absorb the potential pullback. And then you also have the London close that likes to fade the entire move, and in case of crude oil, it just wipes the entire day. That's very scary, and the reason why I don't like being long on crude oil unless I can position myself via options, long options only. Otherwise, I don't want it. And then let's have a look at another day. So here is Asia. So Tokyo pumps it, then nothing. Here is the pre-market, so 30 minutes before Shanghai. So you have about 30 to 60 minutes when the Shanghai reversal can happen. So it smashes down, retests VWAP, and again, for the majority of the day, never even touches it. But have a look at the times of day when we reverse. Tokyo close always has some sort of a wobble back the other way, which is sometimes really scary. So this one, here is 6 a.m. Tokyo end. What do? Wicket below. So they take the Asia low, reverse it, and then they do a pullback. It's a smaller trade because it's against whatever the Asia range has done already. But it's still a pullback. When is the second one? And here's the COMEX nonsense. So all of that. And then we get into the London close. Initial balance, very messy. So first hour of COMEX, 1:30 p.m. London time until 2:30 p.m. Total mess. Never touch it. Then you get the 3:30, so half an hour after it all settles, you start the potential for another reversal in the day. Why? Because that is an hour before London closes. So they start to close out positions, there's enforced hedging, and then that accelerates into the actual London close. Those are my day trading time zones. If you take anything away from today, take away those time zones, because they are, for me, pinpoints in my day where I'm like, this should happen statistically. Is it happening? Reversal, reversal, reversal. So I'm a mean reversion trader. That's not to say that I won't catch another trending move, but there has to be a reversal for Shanghai. When there isn't, or Tokyo, right? So it has to be a shakeout, then a reversal with a trend. If that doesn't happen, it's an odd day. So here it is again in a slightly less exaggerated manner. Here's Tokyo, goes down. Everybody's saying, oh my God, it's going to go down. Now, they pull it back. Here is Shanghai open, starts going back the other way goes into a trend. And again, for the rest of the day, you're perfectly safe. But it has to be the right type of a day. Usually it's some kind of a squeeze, so we have to go over these like gamma wall levels in order for the market to kind of reclaim a big area and then to never dip below it. Today that level is 80, so it's very far down. So we're very far away from it. It's not going to come in. Maybe it will. It's within the day's range, but it's unusual. So I've just given you like a few days here of an example, but go back in time and see how this idea of Tokyo running it the wrong way, effectively, and then Shanghai coming in and doing it with volume, and then bringing you the whole day's worth of trading. That was another one. In the same direction, on silver in particular, how that can help you. So here's another time where Tokyo, so it's actually Globex open, they run it up into an all-time high. And then Tokyo runs it back down. What happens again? Shanghai steps in and they run it back the other way. So it's very spiky, but the same pattern exists. Okay? So I don't trade before about 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m. if I'm going to do Asia. So I usually do it from bed, but I have all of my levels. Everything's planned out in advance. And then all I have to do is just sit there, maybe watch some price action and see whether I remote into this computer so I can see everything. And then I find my trade. Depending on how much potential it has, I will either leave it running until 6 a.m. and then I have an alarm, so then I wake up and I see what the trade is done. If it's wherever it is, I take the profit. But if it's still in and around the opening price, which is unlikely, usually it's like either a win or the trade is not there anymore. Like there's no third option. But if it was a smaller trade where I just caught like 50, 60, 70 ticks, I will take it off and go to bed flat, and then I will have a look at it again at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I did that last night because I didn't feel that there was a potential for a huge trending day. So hopefully that helps. And we've got 5 minutes. So yeah. Chris says, can you explain the fix once more? I don't quite understand that. Okay, so for the last 5 minutes of this stream, let's talk about the London fix, which exists for precious metals. And for copper, but it runs on a different thing. The fix is to do with institutions doing mark-to-market. Like what sort of a price are they going to use to assess their risk on the day? And that's where the pricing systems of LBMA and LME come in. So that price is used to make sure that they have an anchor for something. Just like settlement for COMEX is used for the same reason, right? But it's a slightly different mechanic because it's like gold has AM fix and PM fix. So in the morning, what was the price of gold? It's also because a lot of the London exchanges, they will kind of have sort of a soft 2 sessions, morning and the afternoon. LME actually has a completely separated session where they stop trading in the middle, they break for lunch, and then the trading resumes. But that's mainly just for base metals, so for copper. But the fix is important because it's London fixing the price for the day, effectively. It doesn't mean that we're going to stay there. It just means that the risk systems are using that price for some of their own assessments, right? But as a general rule, the fix usually causes a reversal of some sort. For gold, the first AM fix is 10:30 a.m., so we had it half an hour ago. And let's have a look at what the price did. Let's change this to GC because we don't ever trade. So here we go. So 10:30. So what do we have? We have prices going sharply away from it. Okay. Now London fix is coming in an hour. So if they want to drop back into the Asia range, it's probably going to happen after the silver fix. So the silver fix does bring in a bit more volume generally. And that is the time of day when the pre-market for COMEX activity starts. United States starts waking up. They start placing their positions or taking off their positions and rebalancing the books for what's to come today. So that's the role of the price fixing. Hopefully it makes it a little bit clearer. All right, so that is going to be it. Bon is barking her face off outside of my office, so we're going to call it a day for now. But join us for group coaching on the main broadcast later on. That is going to be 6:15 p.m. my time, 12:15 p.m. Central. And I will see you then. If you have any more questions, feel free to join us, and maybe we even find another trade on the day. That's all I have for you today. This was the Euro Trade on Topstep TV. I'm Marcus Tokadi, and I will see you very soon. Take care.